This is Propulsion, the podcast where we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of taking your business and your practice to the next level. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a franchisee, or a financial planning pro, you are in the right place. We're talking the latest tech, best practices, and expert insights, all while keeping it real and entertaining. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get ready to blast off. I'm your host, Francois du Toit. Alrighty, so the realities of building a professional services business. It's something, I think, just as a start off before I get into it, when you decide to get into something like financial advice or any professional services business, be it that you become a doctor, be it that you in law, or you have any service business, training like we do, community building like we do, content creation like we do, etc. It's all a service. So it's something that you can really do in various different ways, and you can find a way that works for you. But one of the things that I had to learn over the years is that there's ideas that I had that I thought is fantastic. It's completely different from what anybody else is doing. And guess what? Those things did not work. Many of them, some of them we've incorporated into what we're doing, but many of them did not work. And it's because there's two sides to anything, right? And this is why the word business is such an important thing. And I think what David was actually asking earlier, what business are you in really? What's the business of your business? Unless you have clarity around that, it's really, really difficult. And the other thing is that many of us were in other roles before. You were in corporate, or you were an advisor somewhere in somebody else's business, etc. And then you decide, I'm going to start my own business, my own practice. I'm going to venture out and do this. Because one of the things I still believe that is wrong, like it's probably the biggest mistake that everybody made, is where advisors work in businesses. So for example, it's just an example. Let's just say that you in a tight space, or you are in an independent, but you are appointed as a financial advisor. That's your job title. That's your role, is to be a financial advisor. The biggest thing that the businesses did was to make those people think that they work for themselves, and because they work for commission, they have all the say, they have all the decisions they can make, because it's they don't work, they don't get paid, it's all commission. So therefore, you have your own business inside of that business. Now, theoretically, that can be true, but I think practically it really is. And I might be wrong. I'm really open. Like, if you want to share some of your thoughts and views and opinions and how you experience this, please do that. This is a community where we openly can have conversations. And the biggest thing for me is that, you got to be really thinking about, like, when you do decide to venture out on your own, or if you do decide to build a practice within another business. I mean, that's perfectly. You can build a fantastic business inside somebody else's business, but it is still the decision to build a business. And it's that separation between what is a business and what is the job, because those two things are not the same thing. Many of the conversations that I have, and one of the things that I probably struggled with the most until not very long ago, and it's not like I've figured it all out as well, but really getting there, is the fact that there's a job to be done, and there's a business to be built, and there's a business to be run, and there's a business that needs to be grown. And those two things are not the same thing, because the job that gets done within the business is one of the cogs that make the business work. But there's so many other things that are layered on top of that, around it, below it, that you need to have in place and that you need to build in order for the business to succeed. And also the other thing is, like, for many of us, probably, the business is the retirement plan. Be that a good strategy or not, right? It depends on how you are put together and how you are built, and all of the personal characteristics that you have inside of you, and what's driving you, and how you view the world. There's so many different things that you can decide, I want to do it like this, or I don't want to do that, or whatever it may be, right? And that's just the big thing for me about this, is that the biggest thing is to understand that there's a business, that there's a job. And those two things are not the same thing. They are very, very different. And the challenge often is that when we do start a business, we are doing both. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges in this. And initially, you can do everything, right? You get to everything. There's time for everything. It's fantastic. I don't know what people are complaining about. And then before you know it, like sometimes 6 months in, sometimes 3 months in, sometimes a year, 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in, you suddenly find yourself in such a place where you may or may not be able to take the next step. And that's just what this whole thing is about. If you look at the, just the, excuse me, the thumbnail for today is like, what is the next step? Like, that's the biggest question. So that's really what I want to get to today, is to talk about that. Now, to do that, there's a couple of things that I need to share with you just before we sort of get maybe into that. What is the next step, and how do I know what the next step is? Because one of the biggest realizations that I've had, and this, I don't care, sort of what model you base your financial planning practice on, or what service business you're in, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end, like any story. And when you're just starting out, we are made to believe that, oh, you need to have a business plan, and you need to have, like processes and technology and tools and like all these things, all the entire infrastructure that you need in order to deliver a service. Yet, there are many people who start building businesses and selling things without even having produced one thing, because they first figure out whether people want what they are offering. So that's sort of the first thing. But let's step away from that part. The most important part here is that, you've got to recognize where in the life of the business or the practice or your career you are. That's the most important part. So for me, there's sort of 3 curves, if you will, that I'm really starting to unpack and build as I go along, and I sort of document the things that we're learning and that I'm doing in my business. Because for me, I'm building a business, right? Not there yet by any stretch of the imagination, but we're building a business. That's the end goal. I'm not building a self-employment for myself. I'm building a business. But I've got to recognize where I am, and I know I'm starting out. You're brand new, you haven't done anything, or you're very early in the process, and then you sort of get to a point where right now things are starting to sort of feel like they're working. And now, how do I now go to the next level, and the next level, and the next level? And eventually, at some point, you're either going to die at your desk, or you are going to decide to get out of the business, sell the business, or go do something else, or whatever that may be. So that's sort of the natural progression of anything. So be it your career, be it your your business, or anything like life itself. So the first sort of curve, and I've spoken about this particular curve, but I'm starting to split curves out into different curves at the moment. So the one thing that I think, obviously there's, for me, the financial advisor maturity curve. So let's talk about financial advisors. Financial advisor maturity curve, you start off, you know nothing. Even if you have a BCom degree or some finance degree or some qualification, you don't really know anything about financial advice and financial planning, because those things tend to not really focus on that. Plus, as I was like helping people to prepare for their NQF 6 exams this week again, I look at those calculations and I just see that's how they work, but I can see how flawed they are today. They are so flawed, right? So there's the practical element of it, and then there's the sort of how do you get to a number so you have something to talk to the client about or something to measure, etc. But you've got this financial advisor maturity curve, and traditionally how it looks at the moment, and I want to flip this on its head a little bit later, but where it all starts for everybody is like when you start off, you typically will learn about the products, because the base knowledge that you need is product. You've got to know life products, disability products. You've got to know severe illness and critical illness, and you've got to know over time, that's usually where most people start, and then you later on start learning about endowments and savings and unit trusts and those kinds of things. And that's just the natural progression. So usually in that phase 1, you're more on the product side of things, learning things, and you're really going out finding somebody with a need that you can match to the product. And then as you move along, you sort of feel like, oh, but there must be a better way. There must be something else. Like, I don't really like this. I feel like I haven't got much control of this, which is all true. And then you decide, okay, so what's the next thing? I'm going to do and become a CFP professional. So then you go and do that. You get technically proficient. You understand a lot more about this world that you stepped into. And there's a whole new world that opens up. And you decide that, oh, wow, now I can add a lot more value. Now you do other things. And typically, because you are now able to talk about other things, there's new opportunities that open up for you and for your client. And your client is very impressed, very happy, and saying, like, oh, we're going to the next level. Then again, you sort of get to the point like, oh, but is it really about that? Because most of the time you look across the table from you and you see a client with like the eyes are glazed over and they like, yes, Francois, you're the professional. I trust you. You tell me what to do. And there's too many of those happening. And you think to yourself again, like, okay, so what is the next level from here? How can I really connect better with my clients? What is this really about? Can this be all? And then you start venturing and you start figuring out, okay, but there's other ways. And now we get into, yes, the advice-led part of it, etc. So this is the traditional way that it's been working up until now. And then even after that, once you become aware of other things and other ways of going about advice and how to really focus on advice and not the product, there's then another level, a fourth level that you can go into where you really take things to a next level. But that's almost like currently, mostly for most people, the natural progression of how they learn in this profession and how you get better over time. I think there's a way that we can flip that on its head, but I'll get to that. Then the other part that's very important with that, because you cannot progress, right, unless there is also a business that is progressing with you at the same time. So for me, there's also a business curve or business maturity curve, then, if you will, which goes through the same things, because the focus at the end of the day, you can't build a business unless you generate money. And unfortunately, whether you and I like money or not, whether it's our top priority or not, it does not matter. Because once you don't have money, it means you can't do things. It's as simple as that. So money is just a tool and a way to get to where you actually want to go, and to enable you to go and do the things you want to do in the way that you want to do it. So the one thing, and this is where the business part comes in, and this is why I'm saying, like, you've got to separate, in my mind, the job from building the business, because the job is one of the revenue generating activities, but there might also be other activities and other jobs and roles in the business that can generate revenue. But the main job in the business early on in that first phase is to generate revenue. But then if you start focusing too much on your systems and your processes and your workflows and your CRM and all that good stuff, which is important, I'm not saying it's not important, but the question is it important day one? Are you going to spend a lot of money to get these things in place, or to have these things in place before you've even seen one client? And the question and the answer to that for me is no. Because the only thing I should be doing when I'm starting off in a business, and this is something I wish, like with my whole heart, that I did when I started back with this particular business in 2015. I've made that mistake over and over again a few times until I now got the lesson. But the thing you need to be doing is selling. You have to be selling in the business or generating revenue in the business. Now, what you sell, that is obviously the big topic to discuss, but ultimately that is what you need to do. You need to build revenue. And the most important part is that revenue needs to grow. So either, and you decide on different models, right? The beauty about what it is that many of the professions do at the moment is that there is some kind of a recurring revenue, or at least a part of the revenue can be built on a recurring revenue basis. Now, whether that is now aligned to your value proposition and whether that is aligned to the value you deliver and the way that and the things you focus on, your philosophy and all of those things, that's a whole different discussion. But it's about the principle for me today. So it is about building a business where you can ratchet up all the time and say, well, how do I build my recurring, predictable, or at least at the very least predictable revenue in my business? And this is any business, right? If you think about when analysts look at a business, they would want to know, what are the forecasts? And forecasts are based on predictable future revenue streams. It's not thumb sucking because they will pull it apart if it is based on that. So just very important that I think the main point that I'm trying to make here is it is about the business revenue stream has to grow in order for you to spend times on other things in the job that will take it to the next level. But not only that, also to enable you to now move from maybe being the financial advisor into more of the business role where you can focus more on how do we do this. We've spoken about business development a couple of weeks ago. And those are very important aspects that we need to focus on when we are building a business. But when do you get time for that if you are all the time doing the work of a financial advisor. You're not getting to spend time on that. And that's probably the biggest thing for me. And one of the things that I found was that obviously the way I manage my diary is quite important. How available I am or how not available I am has a massive impact on what I get done. So that's also important, but that's just a bit of a side note. There's a third curve that's sort of emerging for me, and something that I know and something that I've experienced. It's the one thing that made the biggest difference in my life, and that is the personal development curve. And I'm not going to call it a maturity curve, because that, I believe, never matures. Uh, Personal development is something for me that is ongoing. It is something that I do spend a lot of time on, but that is ultimately that self-awareness that you build, knowing what you're really good at, and then focusing on building those skills instead of saying, "Oh, what am I bad at?" And I want to try and fix that. That's not really helpful. So those three curves really work together in tandem, and they work together well, I don't know if there's something for threes, but it will work together. So very importantly, the financial advisor maturity curve. So that's your skills and knowledge, and your focus and your value proposition as an advisor, how that grows over time. Then there's the business. How does the business grow over time so that it supports the growth on that end? But then, very importantly, the personal curve, like personal development curve. How much time are you spending there to get better at knowing yourself, better at knowing what's important to you, what makes you tick, what the things are that you are naturally good at, and the things that you will naturally gravitate to? Because the problem is that you're going to find that there's things you're doing that's really frustrating for you. Like I've had that. It's extremely frustrating to me. And the thing is that it's not my natural thing. It's not the thing that I love to do. Do they need to get done? Yes. But it isn't really helpful from that point of view. The other thing that is sort of going on throughout each of these different phases, etc., and I don't know if you experienced this, but it is also, there's a lot of mental and emotional things going on, because there's tough times and there's fantastic times, but typically the tough times are more than the fantastic times. So you've got to be able to really understand what's going on, understand what triggers the feelings that you're feeling, why are things the way they are, and what is the meaning. I think most importantly, what is the meaning that we give to these things? Because that is probably the one thing, if I give a specific meaning to something, it's going to make me think about it in a certain way, and I'm going to have a certain feeling that then becomes associated with that thing. So for me, for example, it's anxiety. So something that I experienced this week, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot of other stuff elsewhere going on in my life that is making it really difficult, and it's these things that we need to think about, like, but why is this happening? The reason why I feel about it the way I do, is that warranted, number one? And a lot of times it is. I think one of the things we need to allow ourselves is to allow ourselves to feel what we feel. It's okay. It's not to say, well, we need to sweep it under the rug and we don't need to think about this. The most important part for me about this is that I feel a certain way. I know why I feel that way. And then what do I need to do to change that feeling? Not to change the way I feel about that thing, because often, that is just, it's going to be like that every single time. But how do I get myself out of that? It's sort of the next thing. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I don't mind sitting with that thing for a little bit, but I don't want to sit with it too long. A day, 2 days, 3 days, and then I need to move on. Like that is it. So now I need to do something. And that's often the thing that makes the difference. It's what are you doing next? What are you going to focus on? And a lot of times when you do the things that needs to get done, the anxiety, for example, lessens. And for me, for instance, very recently, I had to do a piece of work where I did not know how I'm going to do it. I did not know how I'm going to put this together. I did not know how I was going to present this. I did not know how to price it. I did not know a lot of things. And that for me, because now I sit there and I look at my screen and nothing gets done for a good long time, trust me, not just a day. And that's sort of okay, because that's my process. And also, I don't just want to push things out that are not good. But all of these things have an emotional impact, right? And it's draining and it's tiring. And it's like every moment you open your eyes in the morning, go like, how am I going to do that? I don't know. This is And this is not a complaining session or complaint session. All I'm saying is that all of these things are real. But the one thing I can tell you unequivocally, if you are meant to be building a business, if you are meant to be building a practice, if you are meant to be in this profession, those things are just part of the game. It's something that's going to actually push and drive you forward. It's not something that's going to hold you back. It's actually something I will make this work because I have a passion for this. And what I really want to do is, if I want to change people's lives at scale, this is part of the game. This is part of the journey that I need to go through and learn from. Because I always go back like, okay, so why, what, all of those kinds of questions to figure out what triggered this. Why did it take me so long? What can I do next time? What have I learned from this? And then I move on. Like, I don't linger about it. But this mental and emotional state is a big one. The other one is obviously stress. And stress for me is like the only thing that really helps for stress is moving. Exercise, just going for a walk. Braaiing and eating does not alleviate that stress. In fact, it feels to me like it makes it more. So just moving, getting outside, removing yourself from the environment where you are in, that really helps for me. And that's something that I do quite often. And I'm lucky to where we are now. It's easy to go and do that. But it is really important that we also consider that part. Now, the biggest question, probably two questions that I want to answer before we end. And the first question is obviously around what's next. And the second question is around, how can we flip the current model on its head? What is it that we can do to really say, well, people don't have to start off in product? Because the problem there is obviously very clear. So we'll come back to that. Let me first talk about what is next. As I sit here and I think about my business and I think about where we're going next, the only things I know are the things we're busy with. I do have a very clear end in mind of where I would one day want to get to and sort of what it would look like and what I want my life to be like when we get there. That's sort of there because that helps me just to make decisions along the way, like what do we say yes to, what do we say no to. But that's the only thing I know. I do not know the 20 steps it's going to take to get there, or the 30 steps, or the 10 steps, or what. I have no idea. The only thing I know is that I put that out into the universe and I said, well, this is what we're going to do. This is my vision. And I do check in on that vision every now and then to make sure that it is still what I want to build eventually when it comes to the end. But for me, at the moment, this step is the one I'm busy with. And I absolutely have learned in the past that the next step will just become evident now. Like as we finish this thing, the next thing becomes available, the next thing becomes available, the next thing becomes available, or at least clear, not necessarily available, but there is, here's an option. And maybe there's a few things I need to go and do in order to make sure that we can take that next step. But the biggest thing with this is what is next? It's not, I think often with that question, we mean like, what are the next 5 moves, that I need to make? But it's not. It's often just what is just that next step. And when you are done with this, sometimes you're going to find that you have no idea. But then by talking to people, you will very easily figure out what that next step is, because sometimes people are the most, well, always people are the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing that you can have in your life is just to talk to different people. And that's the one thing I'm grateful for. There's quite a few people in our community that reach out to me, that have conversations. Sometimes I can't answer questions, but I connect them to the next person. Again, next step. So somebody talks to me and I say, well, I don't know, but I think you should be talking to that person. That person might be the right person to help you. And that's their next step. So don't sit there on your own and not know. Just start talking to people, because that's the big thing that really helps with this as well. So how can we flip this whole model on its head? Because ideally, I think we would almost want people to start off with, yes, we need obviously technical knowledge and that kind of stuff. Technical is not going anywhere. You've got to have your technical knowledge. But it's about what is the focus from day one? Because we're not teaching new people that are entering the profession that, and this goes for any profession, once again, not just our profession, but it's about the person that sits across from you at the table. It's focusing on their needs, their wants, understanding what it's about, what drives them. And then in whatever professional service it is that we deliver, it's like, how does that help them get there? And it shouldn't be, it's product dressed up to something else. It is literally about that person. And when you do that, when people see that you genuinely care, there's a different level of connection there. There's a different level of discussion. There's different information that's being shared and different information that comes to light. So it's really a whole different experience for everybody. But how can we do that for new entrants? Because I think the biggest problem we've got, and this is something that I heard Warren Ingram say, and Warren's going to be on the show a little bit later in this season, but and I really want to get into it with him as well. But he said that, many of us have started out and you had to go and look for clients. So think about back when you started, you had to call a lot of clients. It was cold calling. You had to find clients, and somehow you managed to break through, and somehow you managed to make it past that point, and somehow you remained, and somehow you figured out exactly how to find clients, where to find clients, how to get referrals, and make sure that people tell other people and refer them to you. Somehow you figured that out. But now we bring new people into our businesses, and we expect them, because I had to pay blood, sweat, and tears to get to where I am, so must this person. That's the way it's always been. That is the way it always has to be done. And I want to say, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Because if you look at some of the biggest businesses in the world, what are they doing? Right? So what is McDonald's doing? So talking about McDonald's. So McDonald's is advertising. They are creating the need and the demand, and people just go to the different franchisee stores that's closest to them. That's what they do. So isn't that the similar thing that we should be doing as an FSP if you employ financial advisors, is to sort of think about, how do we prospect? How do we create leads? How do we bring people into the business? And then we have people who look after them at a whole different level with the right focus on what it is that they do, and just sort of going through the motions. Instead of saying, well, if you don't sell something by the end of the month, you don't have an income, right? But often we are not willing to do that. And I do think, after I heard him talk a little bit about that is probably one of the big ways. And then you look at people like Kim Potgieter, Chartered Wealth, they've got internships in their businesses where they bring people through the ranks and they pay them a salary and they get them and they train them and they become, and some stay and some leave. But that's also their way of giving back to the profession. So this whole notion around, like, somebody's got to start off from scratch is something that we need to challenge and say, well, how can we make it easier and start changing the way? Because if I build a business, that business is going to live beyond me. It's not about you giving away a piece of your business. It is all about really making that business bigger and growing what it is, and be able to help more clients. That's the one thing that I've learned from advisors. They always want to help more people, because at the heart of what we do, it is about helping people. But that's important. So yeah, it will be interesting to look at the comments just now. But that's my thoughts for today. All right. So let's see some of the questions. So Johan says, know what your entrepreneurial mindset is. Yorita says it's the biggest challenges. Yes, and this is, today wasn't meant to be negative or something. It is just like, there's a reality, right? And we can as much say, I know, but we're getting, and it's fantastic and everything's going well. But there are realities that we need to know. And I want everybody to know that it's not just you, it's not just me. It doesn't matter how successful you are. You're always asking that question about what is the next step. And sometimes you feel you're lost, you don't know. These things apply throughout. Such a great session, says, thanks, Lelani. Willem, wise words, very relevant to anyone who's grappling with these challenges. And then Frank says, thank you, Frank. Tracy said, tend to procrastinate on the things I hate doing, e.g. admin. I'm not good at that. Yes, we need to get others to do that for us. There's one part I didn't get to talk about. Not knowing this is what makes it exciting. Yes, I love that, Terence. Thank you very much. And then this is, thanks for sharing. Fantastic. Alrighty. So what does Nivoud say? Excellent. Such a relief to hear that the struggles are real and similar. Building a practice takes its toll, and the emotions and curves are so relevant and not really easy by any measure. There, absolutely. Alrighty, ladies and gents, thank you very much. We're a little bit over time again today. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and raise the bar. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Love you. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's a wrap for this episode of Propulsion. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. Remember to tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. South African time for our live show
called Propulsion Live. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, hit that subscribe button or the follow button and share it with your friends, colleagues, and anyone else you think would get something out of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.